Hey friends, Justin here. Welcome back to my channel. I thought I would post something a little bit more lighthearted today. You guys have been with me through my struggles, some of the crazy dates that I've been on, and that video seemed to really resonate, so thank you guys for watching that. But today, I thought I would talk about kind of the opposite, and that is grace. That's luck. Have you guys ever tripped and fallen and landed on your feet? It has happened to me so often in such beautiful ways that I think you will kind of want to hear this story. And stick around to the end because it gets really fascinating. So, even on the day I was born, I was given up for adoption. I was born into a large family that just couldn't afford, another mouth to feed. On that same day, my adopted mother was fighting through the adoption system to get access to a child to, nurture and provide her resources to someone. And God was already preparing my journey, with me not even being aware of it. And that theme continued, throughout my whole life. Because Metro Detroit in the 1980s and early 90s was a really limiting place for me, and I talk about the reasons why in my previous videos. I spent a lot of time in my room, reading, watching movies, watching TV shows. And by the time I was 18 or 19, I was really an intellectual. I knew the city of Los Angeles. I'd never been out of Michigan before, really. But I knew the city of Los Angeles through media like the back of my hand, the neighborhoods, where to go, where not to go. I had read The Lord of the Rings and had a British sensibility about things, and Dracula. We'd been to Transylvania. I'd read the autobiography of Malcolm X and went on his pilgrimage to Mecca. And I understood what it was to be a Muslim, a black man, and a Muslim in the Middle East. And these were conversations, these weren't things you could talk about with your contemporaries in Metro Detroit. So as soon as I turned 18, 19, I said, I'm going to Beverly Hills. I had watched Valley Girl, I had watched Clueless, no doubt she was just a girl. And I was this gender non-conforming, 90s kid. And I'm like, that's where I need to be. 10,000 people a day, show up in Los Angeles. It's the city of hope. It's the city of dreams. And a lot of them end up on Skid Row. You all know about the homelessness. And a lot of those folks came out with dreams and just didn't have the pride to go back home. So here I am, a Beverly Hillbilly. I land in Los Angeles. I got a job interview at Starbucks on Rodeo Drive. They say, come in, we need one guy to come in. And I'm like, well, I could network, working in Beverly Hills and at Starbucks. And so I'll take that, start networking, and then find my next thing. So I walk in with my resumes, with my suit on, and it's a group interview with about 60 people. They say, hey, we want Darren, we want Sally, we want Sheila. The rest of you, have a great day. Thank you for coming. We'll call you if anything else. But even then, I was smart enough to know you didn't get this job. But I was already, 2,000 miles away from home. And so I left Starbucks that day with my briefcase with my resumes, my suit on, and I went door to door in Beverly Hills handing out resumes. I was making promises to people. Whatever you hire at, I'll take $2 less for the first month. I'll prove to you, my worth as an employee. So finally, this guy called me. He says, I've got a skincare company. It's a media company and a skincare company out in the San Fernando Valley. I'm hiring for a bunch of positions. Come out, let's meet and, see if we can work with each other. Oh, thank goodness. So I get off the bus in the San Fernando Valley, and I felt like I was at home. You know, this is the neighborhood, guys, that Elliot and E.T. have rode their bike through. It is mature, it's suburban, it's paradisical. There's mountains on all four sides. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of peace there. And I get to the street where the interview is, and I look up, and the street name is Gloria Avenue. And if any of you guys have watched my videos, you'll know that was my mother's name. And when I saw that the company was on Gloria Avenue, I knew that this was for me. He didn't offer me a job right then. You know, thank you for coming. I'll be in touch with you. I was staying in a motel. It was like $60 a night, and I was running out of money. And he finally called me a week later. This is Christopher. You know, Justin, start Monday. Come on out. I hadn't cried that long and much in years. So I get there the first day. I'm sitting in the call center. Went and sat in the call center. There was a call center where they took calls. There was a factory, not a factory, like a factory where they packaged and shipped the orders out. Upstairs, there was a shipping department where they printed out the shipping labels, and then they had the executive offices. So I just knew, you know, I'm being who I was, that, okay, I've got this little call center job. I went and sat in the call center, and I was actually there for about 2 hours. They said, hey, give us a little bit more time. Listen to some of the phone calls here. We haven't, you know, finished all of your paperwork and all of that stuff. So just kind of hang out and get us a lay of the land. And let me tell you guys how tenacious I was. And this should tell you something about me. I listened for a few minutes because I was going to impress the hell out of these people. You know, they had given me a chance. I listened to a couple of people say, hi, you know, thank you for calling this media group. How can I help you? I picked up that call and picked up the phone and started talking to people. In the 2 hours before they came and you know, came and got me so I could start my paperwork, I had made 2 sales. I had convinced one person to keep their order, and I had created a whole new sale for these skincare products that I had never heard of before. You know, when you're not going to take no for an answer, it translates everywhere. And so they came and got me and took me on a little tour of the building, and I told everybody in the call center, I'll see you in a few minutes and everything. And they took me to shipping, and I met them. Took me upstairs to where they were printing, and then, you know, took me through the executive offices. And then the guy, Chris, says, okay, here you are. Let us know if you need anything else. He takes me to a room in the executive offices. There's a computer in there, a chair, 4 walls. Here's your office. I had an office at this company. I didn't even know what they did. I worked there for 2 years. During the time that I worked there, the gentleman, his name was Christopher, he got cancer about a year into while I was there, and died, you know, probably the next year. And so we kind of had an unspoken choice to kind of either be absorbed into the other part of the company, or you could kind of move on and just kind of do your own thing. And I had enough courage at that point. You know, I had made it once. I've got some experience on my resume in Los Angeles now. Maybe I can make it again. And so, you know, I'm applying, I'm back on that application grind again. And I get this call from this lady named Lori. She says, you know, I've got your resume here. I see you've been applying a lot of places. Come meet me in Beverly Hills for lunch. You know, we'll talk, and I'll let you know if I have something, you know, available for you. Now, you know, kids, when you're in between jobs, you'll take any, you know, you'll go on any date, any meeting. And so I met this lady. She was asking me about, you know, where I grew up and my circumstance and all of those things. And she says, I really like you. And there is this company on Beverly Drive in Beverly Hills. It's a commercial production company. What you'd be doing is writing scripts for commercials. You will be buying media from different TV stations to run the commercials. You'll be checking in on e-commerce sales on their website. You'll be on sets, commercial sets, working with producers, making sure that the scripting and the messaging is all aligned. I said, this is a media industry job. She says, I like you, and that's really what it takes here. You go down and meet with this guy, Jonathan. If you guys hit it off, you can start. I'm like, well, you've got some pull, Miss Lori. I went in. The guy was, I couldn't really read him. He's an Orthodox Jewish guy. He was really serious, asked me a lot of questions about myself, but he hired me. I had this job on Beverly Drive in Beverly Hills, middle of Los Angeles, no more valley. I was right in the heart of things. The next street over from Beverly Drive is Rodeo Drive. I used to go over on my lunch hour and just, teeter down the street with my Starbucks. And not only did I feel like I had made it, I had made it. 5 years I worked at that company in Beverly Hills. I learned how to media buy. So this particular product translates better on the Hallmark channel after 10 p.m. than it does on HGTV. We're going to allot this much budget to Hallmark versus buying media on HGTV to get a higher ROI on our products. I was learning concepts. I was wheeling and dealing in things that I had not gone to school for, that I did not deserve. For a song, I was doing the things, writing scripts, on sets, talking to producers, telling them what for. And it had just been handed to me, y'all. It had just been handed to me. 5 years later, I met with Miss Lori again. I said, I'm getting tired. This job is stressful. This job is stressful. The deadlines, everything needs to be profitable. These people are rapid fire, and I'm stressed out. She says, I think you're right. Lori, she says, I think you're right. I want to get you into this other line of business. I think it's time for you to, get into financial analysis. I think it was credit analysis. Go over and meet with this company on Robertson Boulevard and Wilshire, also in Beverly Hills. I like you. That's what it takes. You go over and meet this guy, Ben. He's a friend of mine, and see what you think, and see if you guys get along. I met this guy, Ben. I worked at that company for 3 years. And that was the last job. That was the job I had until I moved out of California completely. Now, this is what's going to knock your socks off. I thought I was so talented. I thought that I was so blessed. Christopher, the gentleman from the first job, the media company that I worked for in the San Fernando Valley, the job that was on Gloria Avenue that I cried and cried over, that I went in there and made sales for those people on the first day. As he was dying, he paid, so Lori was a headhunter. She owned a company and she placed basically highly educated and high power people into fabulous jobs in Los Angeles. Christopher had paid this headhunter before he died. He saw me. He kind of felt sorry for my journey. He had, listened to me talk about some of my woes. And he paid this woman to watch out for me for the next 5 or 6 years, paid the fee for her services. And in order to sit down and talk to Lori, it costs you over $5,000. To maintain and be like a subscriber to her program, it costs a lot of money because she's got access to wheel and deal and put people in jobs. This man, before he died, put it in motion that no matter what happened to me, that this woman was to look out for me. Do you understand how the serendipity, the luck? And that relationship was going on years after he died. I didn't know Christopher. You know, he was an African-American man. We were the only two African-Americans at this company. And, you know, I'm sure he saw himself in me. And but for years, Lori never told me, nobody ever told me I had to put my Carmen Sandiego hat on eventually, realizing, why am I getting all these jobs so easily when so many people are homeless out here? So many people are struggling. Why is my story Beverly Hills? And I was at the last company I worked for one day, and he mentioned the name of my previous boss, Jonathan. And I said, well, how are they connected? And I you know, just started thinking back. And the previous job that I had worked for 5 years, he had known my previous boss. And I'm like, well, what is the through line? What is the connection here? And it dawned on me, it's this wonderful woman, Lori, that I just thought was my friend. You know, she was telling me about her daughter, and anytime I said I wanted to have lunch and meet with her, she'd pick up the phone and we'd have lunch, and she was mothering, she was nurturing to me. And I just thought I was lucky. But I'm going to leave it there. That's going to be part one of my experience. The next chapter, I'll tell you about how I got married. I'll tell you about how I bought my house, all of those fun things. But I did want to post something a little bit more, a little lighter and kind of fascinating. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever fallen up, you know, the way that I have. But leave me some comments, leave me some anecdotes about your own life and luck and how God has moved through your life. And until our next conversation, cheers. Have a good day.